Most people think an anchor works like a giant hook. You drop it, it grabs the bottom, and that is what keeps the ship in place. But that is not really how it works. On a huge ship, the anchor does not hold the ship by itself. If you drop it straight down into deep water, it will do almost nothing. What really creates the holding force is the chain and the way the whole system works together. So how can one anchor help hold a ship that weighs thousands of tons? Why can't ships just anchor anywhere? And how do crews pull a 20-ton anchor back up after it has buried itself in mud? Today, we are breaking down how anchors really work, right here on The Daily Why. To understand how an anchor works, you first have to respect the chain. On a large vessel, we aren't talking about a chain you buy at the hardware store. A single link of a cruise ship's anchor chain can weigh over 350 pounds, more than a large refrigerator. The anchor itself might weigh 15 to 20 tons, but the chain attached to it is often much heavier than the anchor itself, and the entire thing altogether can weigh as much as a blue whale. This weight is the secret weapon. When a captain anchors, they don't just drop the hook to the bottom. They lay out a massive line of this heavy chain along the seabed. This creates a catenary curve. The reason is all about the angle of pull. Imagine trying to pull a garden rake through dirt. If you yank it upward, it just skips loose. If you pull it low, it bites into the ground. That is basically the problem the chain is helping the anchor avoid. The weight of the chain sinks into the mud and acts like a spring. When a wave pushes the ship back, it has to lift tons of heavy steel chain off the bottom before it can even tug on the anchor. By the time the pull actually reaches the anchor, the force is horizontal, driving the anchor deeper into the ground rather than pulling it out. But what about the deep ocean? If a ship breaks down in the middle of the Pacific, can ship drop anchor? The short answer is no. Commercial ships generally cannot anchor in water deeper than about 100 meters or roughly 300 feet. If you're in the middle of the ocean where the water is 2 miles deep, the chain itself would be too heavy to hold. The sheer weight of hanging that much steel vertically would snap the windlass, the winch that holds it, or even rip the bow off the ship. So, in the deep ocean, ships don't anchor, they drift. Or if they're modern drill ships, they use dynamic positioning, with computers and thrusters constantly fighting the current to stay in the exact same spot without touching the bottom. So when they are in shallow water, how does the captain know how much chain is out? It's not like they can stick their head out the window and look underwater. It's done through a very old-school system of measurement called the shackle. A standard length of chain is called a shot or a shackle, which is exactly 27.5 meters or 90 feet. These sections are joined together by a special detachable link. Crew members paint these joining links in bright colors, usually white, red, or blue. They might also wrap stainless steel wire around the links so they can be identified even in the dark by touch or flashlight. When the chain is flying out of the hawsepipe, an officer on the bow counts the flashes of color, then radios the bridge. 3 shackles in the water. That tells the captain exactly how much weight is on the bottom and whether they have enough scope to hold the ship safely. Finally, the hardest part, getting the anchor back. Remember, a 20-ton anchor buried in mud creates a massive suction seal. You can't just winch it up. The motor would burn out trying to fight the ocean floor. To get the anchor back, the ship actually drives slowly, moving directly over the spot where the anchor is buried. This changes the physics. The chain goes vertical, pulling straight up on the shank of the anchor. This vertical force breaks the suction, a moment the crew calls breaking out. As the anchor rises, it's usually covered in tons of sticky, smelly mud before it enters the ship. High-pressure water jets inside the hawsepipe blast the mud off so the chain locker stays clean. Once the anchor is secured against the hull, the ship is free to move again. From the massive weight of the links to the color-coded paint, anchoring is a mix of brute force and precise calculation. That is what makes anchors more interesting than they look. They seem like simple chunks of metal, but they only work because everything around them is helping them work. The chain, the angle, the seabed, and the movement of the ship itself. If you found this surprising, leave a like. Share it with someone who's never thought twice about how ships stay in place, and subscribe for more surprising stories hidden in everyday things. Thanks for watching The Daily Why, and see you in the next one.